Melanie, when I started working for the library 28 years ago, you were just a young lady. And I remember you vividly coming into the library and taking your stack of Sweet Valley Highs and checking them out and sitting on the stairs reading them.
You are absolutely right, Sandy. It seems like it was yesterday. I was a teeny bop, or a tween. We'll call it a tween.
Yes.
I have since graduated from the Sweet Valley High, which has left some great memories,
Yep.
and moved on to Danielle Steele.
Yes, you have.
I think I have read every Danielle Steele book that there is. Have mixed it up with a little bit of Nicholas Sparks, and that just about sums up my library.
But you've been an avid library user for years, and a good supporter of the library as well. And it's amazing that now you have two young men who you've introduced to the library.
I believe in the library. The library is a very, very special place for me. It was very meaningful as I was a teenager. I certainly didn't have the kind of money to buy Sweet Valley High books every other week when they came out. So it was meaningful. I still believe in the library. I read my book. I check my book out. I read my book. I return my book. It's not clutter in the house. I struggle with, I have not yet been able to move to the nooks, the reading on the computer. I like to turn a page, and I like to hold a book in my hands. I'm a huge summer reader. It just seems to be the time when I have a lot of extra time on my hands, although there's not much of that. But I definitely find that I read more in the summer. I enjoy the library very much. I will often take out magazines, but I feel like I've taught my children to use the library. This is where they get their summer reading books for school, to do their required reading. My boys go way back to the initial programs that they were allowed to participate in, called Cradle to Crayons, and that was offered here with the library, and we used to go in to the downtown Providence Public Library, which, was on a Saturday morning, and then that was brought here to Fox Point, and as, an off-satellite spot. And both of my boys were able to participate in Cradle to Crayons.
And I remember Cameron, the youngest, had quite a love for a certain collection here in the library and became quite upset if we had to shift the shelves and move it.
Yes, Cameron was absolutely crazed with fire truck books. He had his own shelf. The children's librarian at the time, knew what books he had already looked over 10,000 times, when to order some new books from other libraries. He would come in 3 times a week, easy, and go to his fire truck shelf.
How old was he then?
2.
Yeah, he would toddle in here, I remember, and he knew exactly where those books were. And God forbid, one time we were shifting the books, and we moved the books. Oh my gosh, you would have thought we got rid of them. And we had to rearrange and try to figure out how to put them back so he could find them himself.
He was absolutely devastated. I think that's when things became where he had his own shelf.
Yeah.
They were so out of order with the library and the way things were supposed to be. But you folks changed it, made a little boy happy, and he always had a love for the library. I can remember him doing after-school projects in desperation, where he could, grab scrap papers and make art books. And even Brandon, who grew up in the library but didn't have a certain stack of books like Cameron, he liked all different kinds of books. I mean, I read to those boys from the minute I possibly could. I read to them always. But they both had a draw to the library, especially when they were younger. Today, I find that they use it much more out of necessity when they need something. Yeah. But when they were little, they used it all the time. They participated in the magic shows and the city. I don't know if you remember the paper city that was
New York City.
Yes. And I remember Cameron participated in that, and that was something that was exciting. And at the end, there was like an opening day here at the library. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. New York City was a city that was constructed out of recycled materials, and it went from the floor to the ceiling, and the ceiling is a good 9 to 10 feet high, and it took up almost the entire space in the library. It was
it was that back corner.
Quite a neat, unique experience, and it was a unique bonding experience from parent and child. We had a lot of parents coming in and helping not only their own child, but helping other people's children to create the building that they wanted. And sometimes it took a lot of thought. The kids would come up with some really unique ideas, like elevated highways and drawbridges and the Dunkin' Donuts Center with an elevator. It was really quite a unique experience.
My library angel even knows when a new book is coming out and has it on order and ready for me the minute it drops. So there is something to be said about your librarian knowing exactly who you are and what you love.
That's, I think, one of the best features of the branch system is that you do have the patrons that come in all the time. You know who they are, and I know at different times information has been needed, maybe about health or repair of a house or other things, and I know other people have used those things. But and I've also been able to watch you and Frank as you were as teens, and now you're grown up and you got married and have your own family, and that's quite a unique experience for me.
So I'll touch base on what you first had said about it's more than just a library. Sometimes you and I have collaborated because I am a senior center director. We have collaborated on some patrons that may have needed some extra help, and I can assist them. And because you see them, because you know them, you knew that something wasn't right, or they just needed a little extra help, and you were able to refer them. So it's a little bit more than just a neighborhood library, which I believe in because I get the personal care. There's so many people here that do get the personal care, and that personal care does include referral, which many people don't realize how important that is, to know the people that you are around or the people that are in your company. Obviously, if someone came in and they were, having a medical crisis, we know our first line is 911, but it's, after the emergency situation, maybe it's not an emergency. Maybe it's just a health question, or maybe it's a medical insurance question, which you and I have both come across in the years.
Yep.
So that is why I do feel that the satellite locations for the library is such an extremely important part of who the library is. I have used the downtown public library. I don't know anyone in there. It's big. It's a little bit, a little bit scarier, and a little bit more impersonal. So I don't get that same feeling as a neighborhood library.
Yeah, and it is working in the library. You're right. I've had many patrons come in through the years, and because they come in regularly, you know pretty much how they behave. And we did have one particular patron who did come in, and it was a medical emergency. And because of that, and because of the connection and the close proximity to the senior center, we were able to connect. We got the person the medical attention they needed, and the bottom line was we did save that person's life. That was the bottom line with that one. Other times, it's been other problems that people have come in and they didn't know where to turn, and just sitting and chatting, or I should say sitting, but sometimes just coming in to get their book, and they happen to mention, oh, I've got this problem or that problem, and I say, well, why don't you contact Melanie at the senior center, or and help connect them to the right place. Sometimes people just need that extra ear that has, oh, wait a minute, how about if you talk to this person or that person, and they're able to get the help that they need, and that's very important.
I agree. A personal relationship is very meaningful. I mean, I've come down myself and looked for tax information. Mm-hmm. That's not something that I have upstairs at the senior center, but for me, I can get so many things here at the library. I have had to, unfortunately, our circumstances as a senior center. We're a nonprofit. We're always struggling to bring money in. Mm-hmm. But I've had to come down, use the computers here, do the printing, and that was the only way that our senior center could operate, because we didn't have the new computer system or, a program that we needed to run something out of. So as far as the computers and what you have here, it is very up to date as to what is going on out there, what the kids need, what the kids use. My children, I feel, are very lucky. However, I am still not the parent that buys a book online and gives it to them. I come down and I may renew that book 15 times over the summer, but my children are going to read the book. They're going to read the old-fashioned book. And I don't buy it because I can borrow it. So that's why I feel like the library is an asset to my family. And yes, it goes back. Our relationship is 28 years, but I've been here at this library, using this library faithfully for well over 30 years. I believe in it, and it is part of who I am. I absolutely have so much history here,
How do you think the neighborhood has changed in the years that you've been coming?
I was afraid to touch on that.
That's another whole big topic.
That is a whole other 40-minute topic. But just briefly, the neighborhood here in Fox Point has changed drastically. I feel that the college has really taken over where the families once were. Mm-hmm. This was a very family-oriented Portuguese, Cape Verdean, Irish, and some Armenian neighborhood. And I feel like growing up, it was a lively neighborhood. Mm-hmm. You knew the families, you knew the parents, you knew the kids. However, I do feel like this neighborhood is taxed drastically, so it's very difficult for the families to continue to own property here. Also, I feel that it's very, I feel like the colleges have come in and bought a lot of the family properties that were here so that they could rent them, or people that are in rental properties have come through, have put an offer on the table. It makes the families feel like it's a great opportunity to get out of the city and move to East Providence or Cranston or any of the suburbs, and they feel like they have done better. However, the neighborhood or the family-oriented area is no longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too. I mean, when I started 28 years ago, there was a lot of kids and a lot of families, and at that time, it really was like a village unto itself. If one mom or grandma saw someone doing something, they would scold that kid as if the child was their own, and no one got upset. And if they found out about it, they'd say, "Oh, Mrs. So-and-so got after you for this. Well, here, you're going to get another punishment at home." Not that they abused them, but they carried through the punishment and said, "Well, then you deserved it. And whatever happened, you deserved it," if they scolded you. And that was the good thing that you don't see too much, although I feel still that the neighbors are keeping a good eye on myself. And there's been times when I have been in the neighborhood, sometimes around 10 o'clock at night, and they'll say to me the next day, "You were in Fox Point kind of late last night, weren't you?" And it's like, I didn't know somebody was looking, but yeah, they're keeping an eye on me. And that's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to know that the village is still somewhat here. And
it's a great feeling. I mean, I agree. There are still some people that we know that are here, but there is a big difference. You either have a lot of what you have is some of the very low income, or some that can still afford to be here. It's not easy. We have lost a lot of children in this area. We have lost a lot of families in this area, and we have certainly lost a lot of seniors in this area. So the dynamics have changed. Even the political figures are not what it used to be. They were homegrown neighborhood people. Today they are someone that either attended the college or is trying to make a political name. And I'm not trying to get into politics on this conversation. I'm just saying that
no, you're right.
Things have changed. They're not really family people. They may be young men, young college, gentlemen coming through. So it's different. I miss the old way. I miss the families that were here. They were families that generations. So, and they continue to raise their children and even take care of their parents.
Yes.
So there was definitely a different dynamic.
Yeah, it was. It really was. It was a different feeling, and you can see how the college has come in and they have purchased, as you said, they've either purchased the buildings and in some instances leveled the building and built a whole new building, or they have just reconfigured the building so that it is a whole different facility. Oh, we have really touched on a lot of different things about the library and about the neighborhood. What do you think would you like to see the future to be for Fox Point?
Oh, that's a tough question. I wish that the families were still here.
Yeah.
I wish that, I can go back and say, once upon a time the library was filled after school. Not saying that it's not filled anymore. I mean, you still have a school across the street. Many, many people use this library. But, I mean, hustle and bustle and filled, and everybody, there was activities and tutors and a little bit of craziness,
Yeah.
And then the Boys and Girls Club, there were days that there were 200 kids in on any given day, using the pool, using the gym, the games room, and going further. I can remember Wednesday bingo days for the seniors being 150, 250 seniors.
Yes.
And it was wild. It was absolutely wild. And I think you can agree with me, Sandy, that we're at a fraction of that today.
Yeah.
You know, I am with the senior center, and I also certainly see that with the Boys and Girls Club. I don't know why the services are still great services that are provided, and I'm not sure why things, you know, I think it goes back to there's not many families left here.
Yeah.
You know, so those that do come here are now driving to utilize. So I have to
Right.
drive over to use the library, where it was a convenience that was close by once upon a time.
Right, right. I agree. I remember a time when we had tutors, a bunch of tutors for Brown that would come in and tutor the kids. We didn't have enough tables. The library, at the time that we were part of the Providence Public Library then, and they had to bring in more tables. And we had all the tables were full of kids being tutored and homework help. And now we don't, you're right, there's not as many families still living in the neighborhood, and that is kind of a shame.
That's my wishful thinking, Sandy.
No?
Is to bring back the old ways, you know. I live on another side of the city. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Times have changed.